welcome back to the channel. Today, we're re-journeying back in time to explore one of the most influential and misunderstood civilizations in history, the mighty Persian Empire. Forget what you think you know from movies. The real story is far more fascinating. We'll uncover how a nomadic tribe from the Iranian plateau built the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from the Indus Valley all the way to Greece and Egypt. How did they manage such a vast and diverse territory? What were their secrets to governance, warfare, and culture? We'll look at legendary leaders like Cyrus the Great, who wasn't just a conqueror but a liberator, and Darius the Great, the organizational genius who truly shaped the empire. So, grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's dive deep into the heart of ancient Persia. Our story begins around 559 BCE with a man named Cyrus. At the time, the Persians were subjects of the Median Empire, but Cyrus was ambitious. He united the Persian tribes, rebelled against the Medes, and in a surprisingly swift campaign, he didn't just defeat them, he incorporated them into his growing kingdom. This sets the stage for something unprecedented. Unlike previous conquerors who often left a trail of destruction, Cyrus established a reputation for mercy and respect. When he conquered the great city of Babylon in 539 BCE, he didn't burn it to the ground. Instead, he famously declared freedom for all captive peoples, including the Jews, who he allowed to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. This act is immortalized in the Cyrus Cylinder, often considered the world's first charter of human rights. It was a revolutionary idea. You could rule a diverse empire not through terror, but through tolerance and respect for local customs and religions. This policy made conquered peoples more willing to accept Persian rule, laying a stable foundation for the massive empire to come. After Cyrus's death, his son Cambyses too continued the expansion, most notably by conquering Egypt. But it was under the next great ruler, Darius I, also known as Darius the Great, that the Persian Empire, or Achaemenid Empire as it's formerly known, reached its zenith. Darius was a brilliant administrator. He knew that to control such a massive territory, you needed more than just a strong army, you needed organization. So, he divided the empire into about 20 provinces, known as satrapies. Each satrapy was governed by a satrap or governor, who was responsible for collecting taxes and maintaining order. But to prevent these satraps from becoming too powerful and rebelling, Darius created a clever system of checks and balances. He appointed a separate military general for each province and also had a network of special inspectors known as the eyes and ears of the king. These agents traveled throughout the empire, unannounced, to report directly back to Darius on the conduct of his officials. It was a sophisticated system of intelligence and administration that kept the vast empire running smoothly for centuries. Darius's genius didn't stop there. He understood the importance of infrastructure for connecting his empire. He commissioned the construction of the Royal Road, a remarkable highway that stretched over 1,600 miles from Susa in Persia to Sardis in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. This road wasn't just a dirt path. It was a well-maintained highway with posting stations every 15 miles or so. Royal couriers could travel the entire length of the road in just 7 days, an astonishing speed for the ancient world. A normal traveler would take about 3 months. This network facilitated rapid communication, troop movement, and, crucially, trade. Speaking of trade, Darius also standardized weights, measures, and coinage across the empire, introducing a gold coin called the daric. This made commerce easier and more reliable, boosting the empire's economy and filling the royal coffers. These innovations weren't just about control. They were about creating a unified, prosperous, and interconnected realm. Now let's talk about the heart of the empire, its culture and society. Persian society was a rich tapestry woven from many different threads. While Persians held the key positions of power, the empire was famously multicultural. Aramaic became the lingua franca for administration, but countless other languages were spoken. The state religion was Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic faiths. It centered on the belief in a single god, Ahura Mazda, and the eternal struggle between good and evil, truth and lies. This belief system heavily influenced Persian values, emphasizing truthfulness, charity, and righteousness. This ethical framework likely played a role in the policies of rulers like Cyrus and Darius. But true to their tolerant nature, the Persians didn't force their religion on others. Jews, Babylonians, Egyptians, and Greeks were all free to worship their own gods, a policy that stood in stark contrast to the religious intolerance often seen in other ancient empires. Art and architecture were also central to Persian identity. If you've ever seen pictures of Persepolis, the magnificent ceremonial capital founded by Darius, you know what I mean. Persepolis wasn't just a collection of buildings, it was a statement. The grand staircases and gateways are covered in intricate reliefs depicting delegations from every corner of the empire: Lydians, Ethiopians, Indians, Scythians, all bringing tribute to the great king. These carvings weren't just decorative, they were a visual representation of the empire's power and its multicultural harmony. The architecture itself was a fusion of styles, incorporating elements from Median, Assyrian, Babylonian, and even Greek design, symbolizing the unity of the diverse peoples under Persian rule. It was a masterpiece of propaganda and artistry, designed to awe and inspire all who saw it, of course. No discussion of the Persian Empire is complete without mentioning its military. The Persian army was a formidable force, most famous for its elite infantry unit, the 10,000 Immortals. This was the king's personal bodyguard, and their name came from the fact that their number was never allowed to drop below 10,000. If a soldier was killed or fell ill, he was immediately replaced, creating the illusion that they were an invincible, unending force. The Persians were also masters of archery and cavalry. Their ability to field massive multi-ethnic armies drawn from all over the empire was a key to their success. However, this massive size could also be a weakness. When the Persians famously clashed with the Greeks in the Greco-Persian Wars, they faced smaller, more heavily armored, and highly disciplined armies fighting on their home turf. The battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis are legendary, often portrayed as a clash of freedom versus tyranny. While that's a dramatic oversimplification, the Greek victories did halt the westward expansion of the Persian Empire and set the stage for the rise of Athens and the classical Greek world. Despite the setbacks in Greece, the Persian Empire endured for another century and a half. Its eventual downfall came not from internal decay alone, but from the ambition of another legendary figure, Alexander the Great, in 334 BCE. The young king of Macedon crossed into Asia with a highly motivated and professional army. Over the next few years, in a series of brilliant and decisive battles, Alexander dismantled the Persian war machine. He defeated King Darius III at Issus and Gaugamela, and eventually captured and burned the great city of Persepolis. The death of Darius III marked the end of the Achaemenid dynasty in the Persian Empire. Alexander became the new master of this vast territory, inheriting its roads, its administrative system, and its incredible wealth. But the Persian legacy was far from over. Alexander himself adopted many Persian customs, dress, and court rituals, and even encouraged his soldiers to marry Persian women, hoping to fuse Greek and Persian cultures into a new Hellenistic civilization. So, what is the ultimate legacy of the Persian Empire? It's immense. The Achaemenids created a blueprint for how to run a massive multi-ethnic empire, a model that would be studied and copied by later empires, including the Romans and many others. Their ideas about human rights, religious tolerance, and efficient administration were centuries ahead of their time. Their infrastructure, like the royal road, and economic innovations, like standardized coinage, connected the ancient world like never before, fostering a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity known as the Pax Persica, or Persian peace. And culturally, their influence was profound. Zoroastrianism's concepts of heaven, hell, a final judgment, and a savior figure would have a significant influence on later Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The story of the Persian Empire is not just one of kings and conquests. It's the story of groundbreaking ideas, of connecting diverse cultures, and of building a world that was, in many ways, the first truly global empire. It's a legacy that is still woven into the fabric of our world today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through ancient Persia. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. What part of the Persian Empire's story surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the empires that shaped our world. We'll see you in the next one. Ever wonder what a king from one of the world's greatest empires ate for dinner? Today, we're journeying back in time, over 2,500 years ago, to explore the lavish and surprisingly sophisticated world of ancient Persian cuisine. Get ready for a feast for the senses, because this isn't just about history, it's about flavor. The Persian Empire, at its peak, was massive, stretching from modern-day Turkey all the way to India. This vast territory meant they had access to an incredible array of ingredients. Imagine a marketplace filled with fragrant saffron, tart pomegranates, sweet dates, and pistachios. These weren't just luxuries. They were the building blocks of a culinary tradition that still influences cooking today. So, what was on the menu? Bread, known as naan, was a staple, just as it is in Iran today. But this wasn't just simple flatbread. They had various kinds, baked in clay ovens, often enjoyed with fresh cheese, walnuts, and herbs. It was the perfect start to any meal. Now for the main course, the Persians were masters of balancing flavors, a concept we still see in modern Iranian food. They loved combining sweet and sour tastes. Think stews, or Korish slow-cooked with tender chunks of lamb or chicken, simmered with fruits like plums, apricots, or sour cherries. One of the most iconic ingredients was the pomegranate. Its juice and seeds were used to create rich, tangy sauces that would coat the meat, creating an explosion of flavor. Spices like saffron, cumin, and cinnamon weren't just for show. They added depth and aroma, turning a simple stew into a dish fit for royalty. Rice or palo was another cornerstone. But the Persians didn't just boil it. They developed a unique method that results in fluffy, separate grains with a golden, crispy crust at the bottom called todik. This crispy layer was, and still is, the most prized part of the dish. They would often layer the rice with herbs, lentils, or even fruits, creating elaborate and beautiful rice dishes that were a feast for the eyes as well as the stomach. And let's not forget the kebabs. Grilling meat on skewers over an open fire is a tradition that goes way back. The Persians perfected this art, marinating chunks of lamb or beef in yogurt, onion juice, and saffron before grilling them to juicy perfection. Imagine the sizzle and the incredible smell wafting through the air. For drinks, wine was incredibly popular. The ancient Persians were skilled vintners, and poetry from the era is filled with references to enjoying a good glass of wine. They also enjoyed a yogurt-based drink, similar to modern dew, which was a refreshing accompaniment to their rich and savory meals. Desserts were often simple and naturally sweet. A platter of fresh dates, figs, and pomegranates was a common way to end a meal. They also made sweet pastries and puddings, often flavored with rosewater and honey and sprinkled with chopped pistachios or almonds. What's truly amazing is how these ancient flavors have survived through the millennia. The use of herbs, the balance of sweet and sour, the love for saffron and pomegranates, and the art of making perfect rice. All these elements are still central to Iranian cooking. So, the next time you enjoy a dish of gourmet sabzi or a plate of saffron rice, you're not just eating a delicious meal. You're tasting a piece of ancient history. It's a culinary legacy that has stood the test of time, a testament to the incredible food culture of the Persian Empire. Thanks for joining me on this flavorful journey back in time. If you enjoyed this taste of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more delicious adventures. See you next time. Have you ever wondered what life is really like in Iran, beyond the headlines? Let's take a journey together and explore the beautiful, rich, and often surprising world of the Persian lifestyle. Forget what you think you know, because we're diving deep into the heart of this ancient culture. First things first, family. In Iran, family isn't just important, it's everything. It's the core of society. Large, close-knit families are the norm, and it's common to see multiple generations living together or very close by. Sunday dinners in the West. In Iran, that's practically an everyday thing. Respect for elders is a huge deal, a concept known as etiquette. You'll always see the younger generation showing deep respect for their parents and grandparents. It's a beautiful system of support and love that holds the community together. Now, let's talk about something truly special. Tarof. This is a unique and complex art of etiquette and politeness that can be a little tricky for outsiders to understand. Imagine you're at a friend's house, and they offer you tea. You might politely refuse at first, and they'll insist. This can go back and forth a few times before you finally accept. It's not about being indecisive, it's a dance of humility and respect. A shopkeeper might say your purchase is a gift, not expecting you to walk away without paying. It's their way of showing you're a valued guest. It's confusing, for sure, but also incredibly charming once you get the hang of it. And the food. Oh, the food. Persian cuisine is a feast for the senses. It's not just about kebabs, although they are delicious. Think of fragrant rice dishes like todik, the crispy, golden layer at the bottom of the pot that everyone fights over. Then there are slow-cooked stews called kuresh, bursting with herbs, fruits, and tender meat. Saffron, turmeric, and dried limes are staple spices, giving the food its unique and unforgettable flavor. And everything is enjoyed together, as a shared experience. Mealtimes are long, social affairs filled with conversation and laughter. Beyond the home, public life has its own rhythm. While there are official rules, Iranians are masters of finding joy in everyday moments. On a Thursday or Friday evening, which is the weekend in Iran, you'll see parks filled with families picnicking. They'll roll out a rug, set up a portable grill, and enjoy the evening air together. There's a vibrant tea house culture, where friends gather to chat for hours over endless cups of black tea and maybe a puff from a galleon or water pipe. Poetry is another cornerstone of Persian life. It's not just for scholars, it's for everyone. Taxi drivers might recite verses from Hafiz or Rumi, two of our most beloved poets. Their words about love, life, and spirituality are woven into the fabric of daily conversation. It's a culture that deeply values art, beauty, and introspection. You'll find stunning architecture, intricate carpets, and delicate handicrafts everywhere you look, each telling a story of thousands of years of history. So, the Persian lifestyle is this incredible blend of ancient traditions and modern realities. It's about the warmth of family, the intricate dance of politeness, the joy of sharing a meal, and a deep appreciation for poetry and art. It's a culture of resilience, warmth, and incredible hospitality. I hope this gave you a little glimpse into the real Iran. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more cultural explorations. See you in the next one. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're marching back in time, over 2,500 years ago, to uncover the military genius of one of history's greatest empires, Persia. Forget what you think you know from the movies. The Achaemenid Persian Empire wasn't just about overwhelming numbers. It was a sophisticated, multifaceted military machine that dominated the ancient world for centuries. And it all started with a man named Cyrus the Great. Cyrus didn't just conquer, he innovated. He created a standing, professional army, a revolutionary concept at the time. This wasn't a seasonal militia, it was a full-time job. At its core were the legendary Immortals, an elite heavy infantry force of exactly 10,000 men. Why 10,000? Because if one fell in battle, another trained soldier was immediately promoted to take his place, maintaining their number and their fearsome reputation. They were the special forces of their day, disciplined, heavily armored, and masters of both spear and bow. But the Persian army wasn't a one-trick pony. Their strength lay in combined arms tactics. Imagine this on the battlefield. A front line of archers, tens of thousands of them, unleashing a storm of arrows to disrupt and demoralize the enemy. This wasn't just random firing. It was a calculated barrage to soften up formations. As the enemy reeled from this arrow storm, the heavy infantry, including the Immortals, would advance under the cover of massive wicker shields called sp. These shield bearers would form a wall, protecting the spearmen and remaining archers behind them. Then came the cavalry. The Persians were master horsemen, fielding everything from light skirmishing cavalry that would harass the enemy flanks to the heavily armored cataphracts. These were the ancient world's tanks, with both rider and horse covered in scale armor, crashing into enemy lines with devastating force. Cyrus the Great was one of the first commanders to truly understand the power of a decisive cavalry charge to break an enemy's formation and win the day. But what about when swords and spears weren't enough? The Persians were also masters of siege warfare. When they came to a fortified city, they brought an entire engineering corps with them. They built massive siege towers that could overlook the city walls, allowing archers to fire down on the defenders. They dug tunnels to undermine foundations, causing walls to collapse. They developed powerful siege engines and sophisticated battering rams. The Siege of Babylon is a perfect example of their ingenuity, where they cleverly diverted the Euphrates River to march their army into the city through the dry riverbed, taking it with minimal bloodshed. Perhaps the most underrated part of Persian military strategy was their logistics. An army, as they say, marches on its stomach, and the Persian Empire was vast. To move hundreds of thousands of troops across thousands of miles, they built the Royal Road, a highway stretching from one end of the empire to the other. It was complete with way stations, fresh horses, and supply depots. This incredible network allowed for rapid communication via messengers and the swift deployment and supply of their armies, something no other power could match. It was the logistical backbone that made their grand conquests possible. So, the Persian war machine was far more than just a massive horde. It was a complex system of professional soldiers, combined arms tactics, brilliant engineering, and unparalleled logistics. From the elite Immortals to the thundering charge of the cataphracts and the incredible Royal Road, the Persians created a military model that influenced warfare for centuries to come. They weren't just conquerors. They were true military innovators. What do you think was the most impressive part of their strategy? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into ancient military history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video.